Hey, good morning. My name is Ray. I'm here in the UK and I'm having to be really quiet because the house is actually full of people. There's people doing some work on some, we got some plumbing that needs to be done. We got some other people who've got, they're having a meeting and someone else is doing some kind of, not necessarily a webinar, but they're having a live group chat. So I've got to be a little bit quiet, but I felt compelled to actually jump on this and get after this because recently I was asked by, I guess, a friend, a colleague, a coach, a mentor, a buddy of mine, about basically a follow-up as to something that we've been working on together. And I wanted to give a shout out to Nat Green. And Nat Green basically, very, very generously with his time and his energy and his kind of knowledge and know-how of really kind of breaking through blockages and any kind of things that might particularly cause somebody in a business or in their efforts or anything to kind of stumble or get into some kind of challenged with a few things of trying to make things go forward. And that's kind of where I was at. We were through communication and dialogue. We've been talking about, ways that the whole kind of online sector or business sector or being one's own boss, the reality of what those demands and challenges present. And we got into this conversation about the whole thing, and with his own experience and extensive kind of knowledge of the sector from doing many, many different things. We actually met first time in Austin, Texas about, almost coming up to a year ago in 2013. And we, it's almost kind of hard not to get along with Nat because he's just one of those affable, kind of chillax kind of dudes. And also, he's kind of walking his talk. And so, we kind of hit it off. And of course, you're meeting a lot of people, but there's always the few in the crew, in the group, or possibly a lot. But there are definitely those people who stand out. And Nat's one of those people. So over time, we met up again in Chicago, and we've been kind of connecting a little bit online, and then more and more. And I got wind of some of the things that he was doing, and so I reached out and we made contact. And one of the key things that he was really and still very, very much involved in fact, doing himself, is he's not only a coach and mentor in what he does, he's actually an active participant, engaged in it himself, because that's how much he believes in, basically, taking matters into one's own hands, and being responsible for one's own, impact and influence and engagement in what it is that one sets out to do in life. And that's one of the great things I like about Nat, is that he walks his talk. He lives the dream, as well as, I don't want to use the word preaches it, but when you ask him about what he's doing, he's very, very open and very generous about what's going on with him and what's up and what's working and what isn't working. And that's one of the reasons I reached out and we kind of re-engaged on a different level. And he pointed me towards Project Freedom. Now, I like to spin off on that word as Project Freedom, which seems to be more about, in fact, what it's about. Because the whole notion about personal development, self-empowerment, engagement, activation, and follow-through and commitment, to one's, goals, wishes, dreams, aspirations. I mean, we all got to work. We all got to make an income. We all got to do it. So if you're going to spend so much time doing those things anyway, you might as well be doing it somewhere with people, with yourself, doing things that you love and you really enjoy doing. And otherwise, it's just, as a minimum, tends to be about a 40-hour work week of grind. I mean, who the hell wants to live their lives like that? I mean, I've been there, I've done it. I hated it. In the beginning, I thought that's kind of how you had to do things, and it'll get better, and it never seemed to get better. And every time I thought it was getting better, the rug would get pulled out, or opportunities would go to somebody else, or I'd get passed over, or they'd downsize. That was even worse. Or even worse than that was they'd just outsource it altogether, and all of a sudden myself and others would be just left holding basically not much in our hands. And I got really fed up with that. I got into teaching. I love to teach. I love to interact with people from all kinds of backgrounds. I mean, I myself have grown up traveling all over the world thanks to my roaming professor of a father, and it was just him and me. My mom died when I was very, very young, so we were kind of, footloose in that way, and I got to see the world on many, many levels. On the other side of that is that I also moved around so much as oftentimes tough to find the base, find a place to just literally call home. And I know they say home is where you are, wherever, but it's nice to have some roots, but it's also nice to be part of a community that has, that you can engage with over time, and not just bits and bobs because they're so transient, but you actually, connect with like-minded people who are doing really cool stuff that one can believe in and share the values and the beliefs that one that wants to, improve and change and add value to the world. And that's kind of where I ended up with getting online and leveraging the power and the reach of the internet and meeting people like Nat and so many other people, and not just in opportunities such as, be it in power, be it Explosional, be it in ARP, Auto Recruitment Platform, be it in, God, the list, I mean, it is extensive, Real Life Vacations. I mean, the list is extensive, and it's because, it's like that tipping point, or that kind of thing of where, you meet one person and then they happen to meet someone, your whole world opens up because they know, and now it's all about networking. But that's not how I see things, because to me, networking is actually about building, good relationships. And that's where Nat comes in. I mean, Nat's not only, we've got a good friendship, I think, and he's also a character, a cat who basically also is, looks to the world in very similar ways, despite having a very different background. That it's not just there just to have fun. It's also there to add value and help other people out. And yet he also works very hard, but he also plays very hard. And snowboarding is something he's really into. So we got a lot of common things. But the real thing is this whole notion of looking at the world and taking control and being responsible and holding oneself accountable, but actually doing it, and not just talking about it, but particularly this whole thing about mind mastery and personal development and personal growth and personal application, and actually getting out there and getting into it, and learning from mistakes and learning from growing, but not seeing things as failures but merely as feedback. So as you can see, it's not just jargon here. There's a lot of reality that's in effect here. And this whole focus of not just being in effect, but also in cause. And that whole notion of cause and effect, I mean, are we all in effect? And then are we in fact being ineffective because we haven't got enough touch with our cause? And that's one thing that I really admire and respect about Nat, is that he has a cause, he's in purpose, and of course that's growing all the time. He's a person on the move, he's a person on the go, and I really appreciate that. So a shout out to you, Nat. I really appreciate you taking the time, being generous with your, what you have to share, and all the things that you've added value, and again, taking the time to be there, walking alongside with me, or nudging in a particular direction, or getting me to think in a particular way, or asking certain questions that maybe I wasn't, because you reframe your questions and you reframe your language and you reframe how you put things. It is a reflection of also what your thoughts are, and those are so key. I mean, it's like being that champion. If there's no belief and there's no no communication of what what the broadcast is of that belief and that confidence and that wherewithal, if you don't broadcast it, how can you be a winner? How can you go on and get across the line in the manner that you believe that you deserve? If you don't believe it, hey man, who else is gonna? And that's, again, one of the reasons why I think this is a shout out. Again, I started this whole thing. We've done a process. We've had a conversation. We've been doing some stuff, and Nat very generously followed up. He didn't just leave me kind of out. So he followed up and he asked me straight up, so how you doing? How's it going? For real? And this is pretty much my reply. Obviously taking matters into my own hands, but with a guidance and follow up and genuine interest in my development. I want to say thank you, Nat. Anybody else that has an opportunity to work with Nat and other people that are working and his partners, I highly recommend it, because there's some really amazingly good things happen. In quantum boom, man. I mean, it's taking that step. And it all begins with up here, and it also resonates from here, and then it's getting it in action and making it real. So thanks very much. I appreciate you, Nat. Most grateful, and there's more to come. So may 2014 be the best year ever that any of us and all of us have ever had. And I suggest you connect with him, because there's a lot there. And any questions that you have as well about how to make that happen, feel free to get in touch with me as well. And it's all about connecting the dots. So here we are, and we'll see you on that journey of yours, and at that crossroad where we can meet up together. Much appreciated. Peace, love, out.